The second day of ObamaCare argued before the United States Supreme Court. I'm Matt Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel. Joining me is Matt Barber, vice president of Liberty Counsel Action. We're in day two of the Supreme Court arguments, Matt, before the United States Supreme Court on ObamaCare. Yesterday began the 6 hours of argument. Today and then tomorrow is the conclusion of 6 hours of oral argument. For those who are not familiar with Supreme Court oral argument precedent, this is unprecedented in modern times because typically a case is set aside for an hour from 10 to 11 or 11 to 12. Each side gets 30 minutes and it's done, and then the decision is written later that in the next couple of months. This one has 3 days of oral argument,
right.
Total of 6 hours. Mm-hmm. And in fact, it started off with 5.5, which was unprecedented, and then they added another 30 minutes to make it 6 hours. So it is an extensive overview of this case. I'm anticipating that the decision will come down in June as typical, but I'm also wondering, since they are doing 6 hours of oral argument, whether they will put it past June and move it into October before the decision comes down. I hope they don't. I hope they ultimately issue the ruling by the end of June.
One thing's for certain by the Supreme Court's actions here and holding such extensive oral arguments that they are taking this case very serious. And, you have to call this the trial of the century. I mean, it's not a typical trial. They're arguing before the Supreme Court, but it certainly is probably the most important case that has gone before the Supreme Court, certainly in my lifetime. Or it was since at least Roe v. Wade. And they will determine whether or not we head down a path back toward our founders' original vision of a constitution that protects individual liberty and limits the powers of a centralized government that is prone to corruption, or are we going to head down the progressive path toward this Euro-socialist idea? Michelle Bachmann has often said the crown jewel of socialism is socialized medicine, ObamaCare. If the Supreme Court upholds ObamaCare, we cannot understate how serious or overstate how serious this is. We are headed down the path toward socialism. It's just no other way.
Some people point to Great Britain as a model for socialized medicine. Well, Great Britain is now seeing a failed system because of its socialized medicine, and they're trying to pull back from that. They're trying to reform their system because it is bankrupt. It is a bloated system, and more than that, it provides terrible care. You may have care that's for common colds, but for real serious injuries or surgeries or conditions, it doesn't provide the kind of care you need. And so, because of that, people flee. When I say flee, I'm using it not in a fact that they're fleeing because of persecution, but they're leaving England, Great Britain, to find medical treatment elsewhere, and they're going to various other countries. It's called medical tourism, where they leave the country to go get their treatment elsewhere because they can't get the kind of treatment in England, even if they have the ability to pay. It's just like Medicare, for example. If you voluntarily choose Medicare, which you don't have to, you can continue to have your own insurance or private pay. But if you voluntarily sign up for Medicare when you are at retirement age and you have a Medicare doctor that's providing that treatment, and then you have a condition or a test that you want to take and Medicare will not cover it, you cannot private pay that doctor because that doctor would be in violation of the law, as you would as well. And when you get a socialized system, everyone has it. That means you can't private pay anything. It only comes under the government yes or no, and if it's no, you can't private pay. So you have to leave the country to go someplace else to get the medical treatment you need.
And who decides yes or no? Let's not forget Sarah Palin was much maligned for coining the phrase death panels. Well, the death panels are within Obamacare. We're a group of, I think it's 15 bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. that will decide, doing a cost-benefit analysis. Well, this woman is 65 years old. She needs the knee replacement. She doesn't meet the criteria. If she is 64, she could get the knee replacement, but because, she's not going to be around long enough in doing a cost-benefit analysis, it's not worth it. 15 bureaucrats rather than these kinds of medical decisions being made between parents. But we could do weeks of shows on the problems inherent within Obamacare, but here's the main problem. You talk about the system in Great Britain that is crumbling because it cannot be sustained from a financial standpoint. Take that and magnify it by 100. That's what they're going to attempt to implement here in the United States with Obamacare. It simply cannot work, and now something else that we've been saying all along is coming to pass. The Congressional Budget Office, the CEO, has come out with new numbers that show that Obamacare's original claim of $900 billion over 10 years has now doubled. Do I hear triple, anyone? I think it will continue to rise. This thing cannot work. It cannot be sustained. It is destined for failure, catastrophic failure, and I think it will bring down our free market system here in the United States.
Well, we have a bumper sticker if you are interested in it, and it is called Lord Deliver Us from Obamacare. And if you want to get a copy of that, you can call 1-800-671-1776 or go to lc.org and send us an email, Lord Deliver Us from Obamacare. And it really is a time where we're asking people to pray, because this is a significant time in American history with regards to a precipice, a fork in the road, so to speak, that we are at. And I think that it is time in this important year of 2012, at this important critical juncture of the Supreme Court arguments and the final decision by the court, that we gather together to pray. So you can ask for the bumper sticker, Lord Deliver Us from Obamacare, and also not just put it on your car or wherever, but literally commit this matter to serious prayer. Liberty Counsel has been involved in this fight from the very beginning. We spent hours working through the weekend and filed our lawsuit on the very day that Obamacare was signed into law, March 23 in 2010. We litigated this at the Federal District Court. The Court of Appeals filed the petition at the U.S. Supreme Court, now filed 2 briefs at the U.S. Supreme Court as well. Our case is pending there, and it will ultimately be decided by the outcome of this oral argument this week.
It's going to be a close decision. I have a strong feeling. I think it could go 5-4 either direction, and Justice Kennedy is probably the swing vote, but we're not sure about any of these justices to be truthful. Now, there is beyond the case, even if the Supreme Court rules somehow that the individual mandate, that this whole thing is constitutional. I can't imagine that they're going to, but if they do, there's still a safety net, a plan B, which goes to what we say all the time, Matt. Elections have consequences. Elections matter. The plan B being, isn't it possible that Obamacare could still, even if it's upheld as constitutional, be completely wiped out and repealed if our Congress and a president sitting in office were so inclined?
That's true, but it's a safety net with holes in it, like any safety net has. And it's kind of like a circus net, because it's got big holes in it. In the sense that, yes, you could have elections change. You would need to be able to have a significant change on the Senate side. The House has enough votes already to repeal. You'd obviously have to have a change in the White House as well. So theoretically, yes, you could have a wave of people going in and electing people that would run on the values of no Obamacare as a platform, and you could have them repeal it. The problem is that if that happens, Obamacare would be gone as an entity, but the Supreme Court precedent would remain, and that Supreme Court precedent would say you've got the right to be able to do Obamacare. Now, politically, you may not have the will to do it. You did, but now you backed away. But politically, you could do that if you had the will and the votes to do anything else. So the precedent that it would set is just incredible and devastating. So you could get rid of Obamacare as a problem, but the symptom, the underlying cause, would be this huge power grab by the federal government. Give us a call at Liberty Counsel at 1-800-671-1776. Ask for our bumper sticker, Lord Deliver Us from Obamacare. You can put it on your car and also put it elsewhere. But when you do that, we want you to also remember to pray for this country. Pray for the important decisions by the justices and the decisions as they write these opinions that will be coming later this year. Lord Deliver Us from Obamacare is a bumper sticker we'll give to you. Call 1-800-671-1776. You can also go to our website, lc.org, and send us an email for that as well. And you can also sign up for the Liberty Alert and the Liberator newsletter, and also our activist email, the Grassfire Action email right there at lc.org. Remember to sign up for the Awakening 2012, April 20 and 21 in Orlando, Florida. The Awakening 2012 right there at the website. Over 60 national religious and political speakers are confirmed in Orlando. The Awakening 2012, go to lc.org.